Go ahead.
Matt, as successful as Maryland's been at home of late, how important was the first 5 minutes just to sort of take the crowd out of it?
Yeah, no question. It was, you know, the one thing that happens, sometimes it's not unbelievably difficult, but you're just kind of doing it on the run. A lot of people won't double the post. So when you watch basketball, some people don't post, right? So you watch tapes and you're like, and they're really staying man to man, they're really staying there. But you know at some point with him, they're gonna do something. But like, you know, certain teams, when you go in and you watch film, you're like, we got a pretty good gauge on what they're gonna do. You just don't know, you know, with him. Like some people just, they'll cover down ball side, they'll come weak side, they'll come with another big, they'll wait till he dribbles. And normally, if you don't do it, you actually are pretty good at doubling. You're just not very good in your rotation. That's where it gets you. And then you can't take contested shots then. Like you've got to move the basketball and get them in rotations and then drive them or get that open shot. What we try to do a lot of is the repost. And so we're gonna make you do it again. Make you come on the double, throw it out, throw it back in, double again, throw it out. Even like there's some possessions we do it 3 times, but it's their work, right? So we're gonna make them keep working. And then if they get in rotations, the other thing you're not normally very good at is your rebound balance. It's hard to have good rebound balance when you're going from a matchup zone to man or straight man-to-man and you're not used to doubling. So, and kind of what he was just saying, just to kind of, you know, summarize it, is just take what the defense gives you. Like if they're gonna let him be one-on-one, score it. If not, you know, just hit the open man and make the easy pass and just play the game the right way.
I thought Lance did a pretty good job on Young, you know, until they were, you know, down big.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of assess his defense on Jameer.
Well, you know, he's got to understand, like, you can't let a guy like that get his head up. Even though he took 23 shots to get 26 points, you know, if he gets some output from a couple other guys, it's a different game. You know, he just is, and he almost had to do too much, because I thought we did a good job of just understanding their personnel, like who we could help from and who we couldn't help from. And I think a little bit of Julian Reese only having 4 attempts is us, you know, helping a lot and just trying to stay in there on certain guys and try to bottle things up. Guys like him are so crafty, Young's so crafty that he's going to get his. He's a good player, obviously. But no, Lance gives us something that, you know, we haven't had. You know, he gives us an extra ball handler, gives it as a defender, and then gives us, anytime you can make an open shot, your value is going to really, you know, go up with Zach.
Matt, you had to give up something with your starting lineup defensively against them, but
right.
I feel like Fletcher held his own despite the size discrepancy. Obviously, they start off 1 for 7, 1 for 8, something like that.
Right.
How key was that to kind of you know, make it ugly early?
Yeah, well, they're starting a couple combo forwards, and you know, they have good athleticism, they have good size, but they're really both foremen, and so with that, we feel good about it until a shot goes up. And we don't feel great about it. But it helps that you got someone like Zach that can, you know, can erase some of that stuff. So trying to pull him out a little bit while those guys crash the glass. And I thought we did an okay job, much better job in the second half. I didn't think we were very good in the first half. That's what kept them in the game, was their ability to offensive rebound.
Matt, how much of your offensive success is just flat out great ball movement, and how much is you've got some pretty good shooters?
Yeah, it's both. I mean, you got to have skill when you're with somebody like him. Braden really helps us because his ability to manipulate the defense. He didn't have a great game today. We really weren't that good, especially in the first half offensively. Like we messed up some really easy situations, not just an open shot, but at the rim. And Braden had a couple drives where he should just had layups there. But we simplified what we did, you know, the way they change defense and the way they do things. Like we didn't run as much stuff tonight. We just tried to run some of the same stuff over and over, just to kind of simplify some things our guys feel good about. But ball movement's so important. The way they do things, if you think too much, you can get stagnant and stand. And that's what we wanted with him. While he was in there, you know, we wanted to move that basketball and then get it inside or drive it.
Matt, when you look at Maryland taking 22 threes and only making 5, given the struggles that Maryland has had shooting the 3 this year, is there an emphasis to kind of force them to take those outside shots?
Yeah, without question. You know, the one thing we didn't want to do is, even though Harris Smith had one of them, you know, we just didn't want to give it to him. You know, if we got to stop the ball because Jameer's driving in, or we have to double the post ourselves, and then they end up getting one, like, so be it. You know, we can live with that. But just don't, if you don't have to help at all, just don't let Geronimo or Harris Smith, those guys, just get a wide open shot. But we wanted to help, you know, off of those guys. And we wanted to clog up as much as we could to try to make it difficult, you know, for Jameer and obviously for Julian Reese.
Coach, in the second half, like late in the second half, the pressure kind of started getting to your guards a little bit.
Yeah.
Has that been something that you guys have actively worked on in terms of, you know, just how to deal with full court pressure?
Right. Yeah, we've played a lot of people that have pressed us and zone pressed us and run and jump, and so we have a lot of experience at it. We just had a miscommunication there at the end, just that pass that lands, you know, through to Ethan, and just, you know, didn't make that play, and then we had another turnover there. But I thought they did a pretty good job. You know, I thought Braden did a good job of handling the back. You know, his four turnovers, I think all of them were in the half court. I don't think any of them were the press. So, yeah, they've done a good job. Fletch has done a good job taking the ball out, you know, for us. To have two guys that have played the position, and Lance, you know, and Braden definitely helps us.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
Hello.
Hello. Big picture question. Sorry if it's a bit far afield, but obviously Zach came to Purdue. You developed him into a very good college basketball player, the best in the land. But is there a balance that the coaches and development staff have to strike in getting your goals for college, but also preparing him for possibly the NBA game, which is very different than college?
Right. Yeah. You know, a lot of when they go in the draft, like a lot of people, you know, we'll talk about stuff, or you do workouts, or I shouldn't say go in the draft, but go through the process. And the one thing that comes out for him is like, hey, you're going to let him shoot threes, like you're going to let him, you know. And so, you know, things like his mobility and ball screen defense, being able to change ends, being able to pass. He was a terrible passer 3 years ago. I mean, terrible. And so, but he never got doubled. You know, when you average 3 in high school, like, who the hell wants to double you, right? And so, but he backed up Mark Williams, who was a great player at Duke. He was a first-round pick by the Hornets, and he got to practice against Mark. It's one of the smartest decisions. IMG has about 7 or 8 teams. So he was on one of the lesser teams. Then he moved up to the second team, and Baycott was there the year before. So he was around guys. And so then he played about 10 minutes, 12 minutes a game his last year. He didn't play a lot, but he got to practice against Mark. And I thought that was a great decision on his part. Then when he came to our place, he played against Travion Williams, you know, and so now he's had a lot of success with Team Canada and playing there. So he's had a lot of different experiences in a short amount of time. You have to understand that his first year of organized basketball was when he was 16. And so he was a hockey player and a baseball player. But, you know, for a big guy, like, he's got a level of toughness to him, and he's got some sense about him, and he kind of understands. He didn't understand his surroundings at first. And now he does a much better job of that. You know, he'd play 15 minutes, he'd get 10 points, he'd get 5 rebounds, he'd have 4 turnovers, and we go to the monitor twice. You know, and so it just took him a while to kind of get a feel for things. Our assistant, Brandon Brantley, has done a great job with our big guys. He played center at Purdue. He's been with me for 11 years. He's done a fabulous job with him. Just educating him, watching film, but drill work. Just constantly doing drill work to help us cause. And, you know, he's got a bright future. I think you got to understand, like, if you start playing basketball and you're 5 or 6, you know, in your 7th, 8th year, like, you're a middle schooler. He's a middle schooler. That's where he's at from an improvement standpoint. So he's not going to plateau out. You know, he's got a lot to come, and he can shoot the basketball. We just, you know, if you're shooting threes, you're shooting perimeter shots, you know, we want to get people in foul trouble. We want to get to the free throw line. We want to steal points. Anytime he dives and does stuff, the whole team pulls in. And now when you skip and you see those threes or drives, it's because they got to pay attention to him. He was modest in his answers there. A lot of what we do is the attention that he gets, and then we play off of that. He didn't answer it that way, but he was being humble.
Go right there, and then Brian. Last 2. Go ahead.
Yeah, Coach. So go ahead and just talk about the turnover battle. You guys won the turnover battle, and how is that advantageous for your team?
Yeah, well, you know, they actually had fewer turnovers than us, but when we can stay around 10 to 12, we normally win, no matter what else happens. You know, when we got beat by Northwestern, it was 17 turnovers. If you see our losses early, St. Peter's lost 2 years ago, Farley Dickinson, like whatever, high turnovers. So our recipe for disaster is high volume of threes and a low percentage and high turnovers. So when we do that, we normally don't fare too well. But when we keep our turnovers down, we normally win, you know. And it's not the only thing that's important in a game, right? But if you go look at stats and you go see what's a constant, that's been a constant for us.
Right, that's all.
Speaking of constants, you can normally count on having a pretty big foul differential shooting all the free throws.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't necessarily get that tonight. Was this just a really clean game? Was it their zone not necessarily falling in line with all that, but
Yeah.
shooting only 10 free throws and winning a game on the road pretty decidedly is something that's not really the
I thought
typical
it was
model.
Yeah, you know, any coach out there that wins by 14, you're going to say it's a good officiated game, right? That's just the way you are as a coach. But no, I thought it was a well officiated game. You know, I thought there was a couple times, you know, he got cracked and they didn't call it. But outside of that, you know, we probably cracked them a couple times too, right? Things kind of have a funny way of balancing out. But yeah, it's interesting. You know, they have 12 fouls and we have 7. You know, for the game. So we had the fewest amount of fouls last year in the country. So like we work really hard at not fouling and trying to get people out of rhythm. On the other end, we're trying to be aggressive and we're trying to drive the basketball and post hard. So thank you.
Yes.